So this will be a good reminder for those who have been with me for a little while. It's nice to like zoom back a little bit and get some wider orientation, right? A way to kind of take stock of why we're even doing this work in the first place. Why do things feel out of balance? Why do things feel incoherent? Why are these gaps that are leading to widespread illness, widespread mental illness, widespread sense of disconnect or of not enoughness or scarcity, and all these things that we're working through and that affect each of us uniquely, but that all of us are experiencing in this day and age, this modern day and age. And the way that I, both through my training and personal experience, have come to see it is that we're in this age where many systems in our world are falling apart because they've become disconnected from the rhythms and principles of nature, which is a lot why I work with the nervous system. And when I think of the nervous system, it goes beyond just the human nervous system. It's like the homeostasis of the ecosystem of the planet and her ecosystem, her immune system, right? And especially those of us who are sensitive, who are tuned in with her, are going to feel these things, both in our own lives, but also because I guess this is where my messaging comes in, that some of you have maybe heard me say, like, you're not crazy. Like, the world is not in a state of balance, and you're just having your little freak out moment in your own little house over there. Like, the world is actually has gone through a lot of imbalance and is in a state of not being fully connected to the principles of nature. So it kind of puts into perspective a little bit why we experience some of these symptoms, which you could call trauma symptoms. You could also call them the symptoms of soul loss. And we've worked a lot with these in our one-to-one sessions in the sanctuary and in our group sessions in the sanctuary, of finding our voice again, our true voice, coming out of states of feeling trapped or like a victim, coming out of feeling like life feels burdensome, a lot of attachment trauma, feeling empty inside or starved for positive attention. Very common to feel crippled by doubt or to feel like I can't, like stuck in being able to move forward in certain ways. And then, of course, why we go gently with the somatic is because it's also really common to feel a lot of discomfort in the physical body, and this is another reason why in our meditations we invite many channels, and we create a safe container first, so that when we do the alchemy, it can happen in gentle ways, because our bodies are carrying a lot of things, a lot of trauma, whether it's developed into a chronic illness, as I know it has for some of you, and it had for me, or whether it hasn't yet, or whether it presents as more mental. Like, it's just important to nod our heads to like how much our bodies have been carrying, and also the way that that creates a challenging relationship um, with behaviors or cravings, um, where it feels also like we could be unable to reach our purpose, our true potential. We talk a lot about Dharma here in the sanctuary, and that feeling of like, I know I have something more to do, but I can't quite click in, I can't quite grasp it. That's another symptom. This is one that has been for a lot of my life a big deal. I'm going through another round of learning with it now, but feeling very kind of a little bit like porous in the energetic boundaries, and like it's hard not to be very affected by other people's energies and emotions. And then, of course, shame. Shame is a big one as well. Um, so the good news is that in order to turn these things around, we really can tap into what I call the nature codes. They're also cosmic. I mean, I think the cosmos is nature as well, but I wanted to include that, to restore our health and unlock our dharma, because those two things happen together. And so if we define trauma or soul loss as like that, being out of touch of nature's codes and rhythms, then getting back in touch with nature's codes and rhythms is going to be a solution, of course, to help us to restore that state of wholeness and balance, and then unlock our dharma. I love this concept, which came from the Emerald podcast, of meeting a pattern with a greater pattern. And this is alchemy, right? It's like, instead of collapsing when we come across a challenge or an obstacle, um, or fighting or battling it, which can burn us out, as anyone knows who's dealt with illness. Um, how can we meet the pattern of incoherence with a pattern that has deeper and greater coherence, more organization, more rhythmicity, more balance, that can almost like a stream around a stone, like kind of come around it and swallow it and eventually dissolve it, and smooth it out and make it part of the greater river. And yeah, as most of you who are in the sanctuary know, we work on restoring nature's codes together as a group and community. Um, we we work on this by restoring our biorhythms, both through the nervous system work and also through lifestyle practices. Um, sorry, I'm getting like a bar on top of my own slide, so I can't see it. There we go. When we practice the coherence practices, we're helping slowly but surely remove the layer of noise on top of our innate intelligence, so it can start to bubble up. And this is why we also start to have more clear information coming through. I've been noticing in the sanctuary members, for example, like more and more in recent sessions, like something that was like maybe hard to speak about is really coming more easily. It's coming with more groundedness and more embodiment. Your own innate intelligence is coming quicker. We metabolize the trauma, so it's not buried in there anymore. Reintegrate the soul, amplify coherence, and then, of course, I love this marriage of modern science with ancient wisdom, which fits really well with rituals. Alchemy is defined as transforming lead into gold. And so we're practicing in the sanctuary really being fearless with our fears, being a welcoming with our shadows, and also and gentle with them too. Finding this place of the inner alchemist sort of seat where there's a trust and a greater force to help work with these things and grow us, and not have to be afraid anymore of the things that have kept us stuck. Yeah, and so I love this image because not only is the sanctuary a container for this work, but it shows that the sanctuary itself is, as I've said, like held in this larger container of nature and in this larger container of the cosmos. Just a quote by the neuroscientists to remind us of the fact that when we do this work in a group, even a very small group, it makes ripples of change in the world that are quite important, right? When a complex system is far from equilibrium, small islands of coherence in a sea of chaos have the capacity to shift the entire system to a higher order. And I've shared this before, but like, to get to the tipping point where there's more coherence in the planet, it doesn't even require 50%. The more coherence that there are in small groups, that actually it has like an exponential effect on changing the atmosphere and the cultural atmosphere in which we're living. So this is just to say, like, number one agenda, like to have better, more coherent wholeness and a healed state for each of us individually, but B, that this is also doing a lot, this work is doing a lot for the world, and the greater planet. So I'm gonna, for the sake of time, not go through all of these, but these are some of the things and the shifts that start to happen as we're doing this from the slide previously, and turning around all of the symptoms into their opposites. So in this definition of healing, where we're talking about regenerative healing, it's very much root healing. It's very much not just making symptoms go away. It's very much not just making a pain go away and returning to a state of normal business as usual, but it's actually entering a greater paradigm of experience, a greater connection with life and all living things, and a greater sense of aliveness, a greater sense of purpose and freedom, and a sense of belonging, actually, is what I want to say. Sense of belonging to something much greater, like that thing that we felt cut off from that's created so much trauma. And then, as I discovered for myself, and as we're learning here in the sanctuary, the most beautiful side effect of choosing to heal ourselves and go on this journey is that our purpose begins to unfold from the inside out. It's not something we have to go out and get. It's something that emerges almost like the life force within a flower that moves up the stem and opens the blossom from the inside out. Uh, and we get to be the stewards and ecstatic witnesses of the process of that happening, which is quite a powerful thing.